Welcome back to 340 Paddler. Today I want to get into a debate that I've touched on already, but what I'm doing is I'm making some of these decisions for this year's MR340. So what I want to do is take you along on the journey, show you my thought process. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not, and I will be touching on some other subjects, maybe paddles, nutrition, all in this series that I'm going to call The Debates or something along those lines. And this question of which boat to take is an old one. Many people running the 340 have had the choice. Do I go with the old stable boat that I know? Do I go with the faster unstable boat with a lot of questions about what's going to happen day 2 and day 3? This is something I've dealt with in the past. My first year, 2012, I raced this 17-inch wide cedar strip. Of course, I put outriggers in the form of swim noodles on either side, but you get the idea. 2013 and 14, I completed the race in a QCC 700. Great boat, but really not setting records. The last 2 years, in 2015 and 16, 15 being the flood year, for me the flood year, I've run a Stellar 18S, which I still have in my fleet and is repaired since sinking it last year. But I bought a V10 Sport in the fall, got a great deal for it, paid about $1,200 give or take. Really beautiful boat, needs a little bit of work. It'll be fixed up for the race, but the question is it MR340 material? So let's look at these issues. First, let's look at the Stellar 18S and its advantages. I have 2 years of experience in this boat, which is extremely advantageous. I know exactly what's going to happen under which situations. I know what it's going to do in big barge wakes. I know what it's going to do in storms or beam waves or any other situation. I know that it's stable because I've fallen asleep in this boat about 10 miles outside of St. Charles in 2015 as I was desperately trying to catch Gary Fisher. And I didn't. Gary won. I hate you, Gary. Anyway, it also has a great deal of storage, with a large hatch in back and a smaller hatch in front, and we have a hull speed. This is a theoretical number because you notice I'm not taking beam into account, but this number is, here's the equation up above that I'm using. What it works out to is an approximate hull speed of 6.53 miles per hour. In other words, that's the speed before it starts climbing its own bow wake and becoming very inefficient. And we're going to come back to that number shortly. Then we have the V10 Sport, which of course has its own series of advantages. I'm going to have months of experience in this boat. I'm going to be able to train up in the V10 Sport. So experience still goes to the Stellar, but it's not as big of an issue. The big advantage is it's fast, and speed usually also means efficiency. However, storage is more limited at the moment, although I'm putting a hatch into it. And in terms of hull speed, our same theoretical number here, what we end up with is a hull speed of approximately 6.9 miles an hour as a theoretical hull speed. And again, these are theoretical numbers because they're not taking beam into account, but it shows that it's a good 0.4 of a mile an hour faster under similar conditions compared to the Stellar. Let's talk about experience. By the way, there's not too many people with more experience than Brent there. In 2015 and 2016, I, of course, finished in the Stellar. Here's 2015, here's the remains of 2016, and of course, I've done that repair. so I know what the boat will do. There are other considerations to take into account. First of all, the math. The V10 Sport has a hull speed of approximately 6.9 miles an hour, which is faster and more efficient than my Stellar with a hull speed of about 6.5 miles an hour. But, and this is a big but, no V10 has ever landed in the 50-hour club. Yet, there's 6 Stellar 18S's, 2 of them are me, and there are 23 18-foot boats similar to the Stellar in the 50-hour club. Because while the V10 is faster, and it may be that with enough practice I'm more stable in it, it's also possible that trying to maintain stability in that boat results in my blowing my core out, thus exhausting myself much earlier and making it much more difficult to reach whatever goals I have for the race this year. And I'm getting this information from Doug Robinette's database that he put together, where he has the entire 50-hour club and as many finishers as possible, plus their boats. So, brilliant bit of data that Doug put together. Another issue? Day 2 speed. What you're looking at here in this table is my approximate speed per day during the race in 2014 in a QCC 700, 2015 in the Stellar, and 2016 in the Stellar. And the importance here is look at the day 1 speeds. We have 7.5, 8, 9 miles an hour. Of course, there's a current under me that's helping me along, so I'm not actually flat water paddling 9 miles an hour. Only Joe Mann can do that. But look at what happens on day 2. 6.5. Day 2 in 2015 was a little bit faster, but that was a flood year. 2016 slowed down. And if we take, for example, this 9 right here in 2016, and we figure 9 minus 3, approximately 3 current, 2.5 to 3, means I was going about 6 to 6.5 miles an hour on day 1, flat water. So I was right at hull speed here, but clearly I was not at hull speed on day 2. Which means I'm under the hull speed. I'm not taking full advantage of the Stellar 18S. This is a serious issue. Am I willing to give up the stability of the 18S, stability that allows me to put more power into my stroke, to have a more efficient boat? So based on all of this, right now I'm tending to think that I will go with the Stellar. But if you're sitting there wondering, I wonder what he's actually going to take, oh good, he's taking the Stellar, I'll take my fast boat. Don't do that. I'm rather well known for changing my mind. For example, the Stellar is great unless I want to get there faster, or unless I can add some kind of outrigger to the V10 that isn't going to affect it too badly. Unless I start thinking about blowing out my core in the V10, which I don't want to do. Then there's the question of storage. There's not a lot of room in that V10 cockpit. But then it has an understern rudder, so you see where this is going. It's just going to continue. This debate will continue up until August 8th. So I'll probably post on it again, but I wanted to give you a view into my mind. How am I making these decisions for whatever it's worth? This is 340 Paddler, hoping that you keep your paddle in the water.